Star Trek is ready to answer one of the biggest mysteries from Picard Season 3. Star Trek. Picard Season 3 gave longtime fans one of the most satisfying farewells in franchise history, a final adventure that reunited the beloved crew of the Next Generation and delivered emotional closure decades in the making. Yet, amid all the nostalgia and payoff, the season left behind one mystery that has lingered like a warped trail across the galaxy. With Star Trek's expanding universe now connecting Picard, Strange New Worlds, and the rumored Starfleet Academy and Legacy spin-offs, it seems the franchise is finally ready to revisit and possibly answer one of the most tantalizing unresolved questions from Picard's final season. That question centers around Jack Crusher and the mysterious legacy of the Borg Changeling Alliance that nearly tore the Federation apart. Season 3 ended with Jack taking his first steps toward becoming a Starfleet officer, serving aboard the newly rechristened USS Enterprise G under Captain 7 of 9. But beneath that hopeful ending lies an open question: what exactly remains of the Borg, and what role might Jack still play in their future? Now, with several new Star Trek projects rumored to be in development, the clues point to the franchise being ready to pick up that thread and finally reveal the truth about the Borg's lasting influence on the next generation of Starfleet. The Borg are not truly gone. In Picard Season 3's thrilling finale, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard reconnected with his son through the shared psychic network of the Borg. The sequence offered a poetic resolution, the former Locutus embracing his humanity and rescuing Jack from assimilation, ending the Borg Queen's reign once and for all. The ship Enterprise D and her crew triumphed in a way that felt definitive, seemingly eradicating the Borg's last physical stronghold. But Star Trek fans know better than to take the words "the end" too literally. Throughout Star Trek history, the Borg have proven nearly impossible to exterminate. From their initial appearance in the Next Generation's Q-Who to their evolution in Voyager, they've adapted, survived, and redefined themselves. Even Picard's first season hinted that parts of their technology and biology had spread far beyond the Queen's control. Season 3's revelation that the Borg had collaborated with rogue changelings to infiltrate Starfleet only deepened the mystery. That alliance was never fully explained. We saw the results, but not the origins. How did two of Star Trek's most dangerous enemies connect? Why did the changelings, a species obsessed with freedom and revenge, willingly serve the Borg Queen? And what remains of that strange hybrid network now that both species appear to be shattered? If Picard was a story of endings, Star Trek Legacy, the proposed spin-off following Captain 7 and Jack Crusher, seems destined to be the story of what comes next. Jack Crusher's connection to the Borg is deeper than anyone realizes. Jack Crusher's mysterious powers in Picard Season 3 were some of the most intriguing and unexplained elements of the show. Before his Borg connection was revealed, his ability to influence others, communicate telepathically, and feel the collective hinted at something more complex than mere assimilation. Even after the Borg Queen's destruction, there's reason to believe those abilities didn't vanish completely. Picard himself once carried traces of Borg technology and consciousness long after being freed as Locutus. His lingering link was central to First Contact and several TNG episodes. Jack's genetic inheritance, part human, part Borg through his father's altered DNA, suggests he could be the next evolutionary bridge between humanity and machine. The legacy of the Borg may not be a fleet of cubes or cybernetic drones, but a young man whose mind and biology represent what the Borg always sought: perfection through unity. If Star Trek revisits this thread, it could reimagine the Borg not as villains, but as a philosophical challenge, a mirror to Starfleet's own ideals of connection, cooperation, and collective progress. What happens when the next generation of explorers carries within them the legacy of the galaxy's most terrifying enemy? The changeling factor still doesn't add up. Season 3's twist that rogue changelings had infiltrated Starfleet ranks, even impersonating officers at the highest levels, was a shocking and effective callback to Deep Space Nine. But their motivations were left frustratingly vague. Why would shape-shifting beings who despise control ally with the Borg, a species defined by assimilation and domination? The answer may lie in an even deeper mystery: evolution. Both the Borg and the changelings represent two extremes of the same idea: the loss of individuality in pursuit of a collective existence. For the Borg, it's through technology and hierarchy. For the changelings, through fluidity and unity in the Great Link. Their alliance could have been born from shared desperation, a mutual need to survive in a galaxy that had moved on from both of them. Yet, we never learned how that partnership began or whether remnants of it still exist. If a Legacy-style series explores the Enterprise G's early missions, uncovering the truth behind this Borg changeling synthesis could drive a major storyline. It's even possible that the Borg's biological experiments with the changelings created something entirely new, a hybrid threat unlike anything seen before. That would explain why Starfleet still appears uneasy in the aftermath of Picard's finale, and why someone like Jack Crusher, with his unique Borg heritage, might be the key to understanding what's coming. Star Trek's expanding universe is poised to revisit the mystery. Since Picard's conclusion, Star Trek's creative team has dropped multiple hints that the story isn't over. Terry Matalas, the showrunner behind Season 3, has openly campaigned for a continuation under the working title Star Trek Legacy. Paramount hasn't greenlit it yet, but they've shown continued interest in exploring the Picard era further. Meanwhile, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, now officially in development, will take place in the 32nd century, connecting indirectly to the events of Discovery. But that doesn't rule out other 25th century projects. If Legacy moves forward, it would naturally explore how Starfleet rebuilt after the Borg changeling infiltration and what became of the younger officers introduced in Picard. Even without a full series announcement, the franchise is threading hints across media. Star Trek, Lower Decks, and Prodigy have both referenced post-Picard Starfleet operations, while Star Trek Online, often a testing ground for canon-friendly ideas, has recently incorporated storylines involving Borg evolution and temporal aftershocks from the Dominion War. All of this suggests a coordinated effort to prepare audiences for a deeper look at the Picard aftermath, and with it, the chance to finally solve its biggest unanswered mystery. What a return to the Borg mystery could mean for Star Trek's future. If Star Trek truly revisits the lingering questions from Picard Season 3, it could mark a turning point for the entire franchise. The Borg have long been emblematic of Star Trek's fear of technological singularity, the nightmare of losing individuality to collective control. But as technology in the real world continues to blur the lines between human and artificial intelligence, the Borg mythos feels more relevant than ever. Jack Crusher could become Star Trek's way of reframing that story. Rather than treating the Borg as a horror from the past, he could represent a future where humanity learns to integrate connection and individuality, where the collective's philosophy evolves into something less monstrous and more enlightening. That would mirror Star Trek's enduring optimism, that even the darkest parts of our history can lead to growth and understanding. A story centered on Jack grappling with his Borg heritage, under the mentorship of Seven of Nine, herself a survivor of the collective, would create a powerful generational parallel. She embodies recovery, he embodies possibility. Together, they could redefine what the Borg mean in the 25th century. The Enterprise G could be the perfect setting. When Picard ended with the rechristening of the Titan as the Enterprise G, it was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a passing of the torch, a promise that the story would continue with new heroes shaped by the old.